Hey everybody, welcome back to the 12 Days of Mods Tacoma build on the Yoda X YouTube channel. The truck is really coming along. For day 8, Corey got the Bilstein lift kit installed, and we also took the bigger wheels off the 4Runner and got them put on here. And it's looking a whole lot better and riding a whole lot better. You probably also saw the CaliRaised front bumper. Those are the two biggest things we've done, and we still have more under the tree. So Corey's gonna get into day 9 now and make his selection.
Yeah, if you guys missed any of our other videos, make sure to go back and watch them. We just got the lift kit, wheels and tires. We got the bumper on there. We got a bed rack on there from CaliRaised. We got some ditch lights, headlights, tail lights, a bunch of stuff that we did over the last few days on the Tacoma. If you missed those, make sure to go check them out. But today is day 9, and we need to keep this thing going. We got a few days left, and we have way more presents under the tree still than we do days. So that being said, I'm gonna let you point me in the right direction here.
I'm picking this time?
No, not picking, but point me in the right direction. I want to get these numbers of the number of presents down that we have here in front of the tree.
Okay, well there is one specific category that if you pick from is going to eliminate more than half of these.
Okay, well let's pick those.
Yeah? All right, well just grab that one right there then.
This one here?
Yep.
All right, I'll start with this one, and I'm gonna let him get the other ones that go along with this. There's the label. I didn't look at it yet.
I didn't look at it yet.
Transfer case skid plate. So we're doing skid plates today.
All of the skid plates.
All of them. I don't know how many. All right. This thing's pretty hefty.
All right, if you want to make a selection, pretty much anything at this point that's like
bigger,
heavy is probably a skid plate. I'll let you know.
Probably this one. It's skinny, it's heavy, big. Looks like front skid plate. So we got the front skid plate here from CaliRaised. Really nice, thick steel, powder coated black, looks really good. And it also has these things welded on here, so you don't have to worry about shearing off the bolt heads if you hit a rock with the head of your bolt. So those are pretty nice. I'm gonna go ahead and open up another one. Is this a skid plate?
That is not a skid plate.
No.
Pick it up, that's not heavy.
I guess not. If it was a skid plate, it'd be heavier.
Not a skid plate.
That's not a skid plate. This one's pretty heavy.
That's a skid plate.
This one's a skid plate.
Cheater.
Not sure exactly where this one's going, but it's another skid plate.
I believe that is the transmission. So that will go directly behind the main one up front.
Assuming this is another skid plate.
Yeah, lift with your back.
That's how I usually do it. All right, this one looks like the gas tank skid plate, which is really nice because the factory skid plate on the Tacoma for the gas tank is just plastic. So if you're out on the trail and you hit something, there's a good chance it could go right through that, puncture your tank, and then you're gonna have a bad day. So this is definitely a good insurance when you're out on the trail.
We're in the home stretch, Corey.
How many more we got over here?
There is 2 more.
2 more.
2 more.
This one?
No, not that one.
No?
That one's not heavy, I don't think. Try picking it up.
What would this? I mean, this is small.
That is one.
This is one, okay. And this is another one, I'm assuming, because
those are the last 2.
The other 2, 3 I already checked. All right, so what we have here are rear shock skid plates. These mount right into the bottom of your rear shock. Gives it a nice protection there. If you happen to hit rocks off your rear shocks, this is gonna help you out a little bit. All right, lower control arm skid plates. So it looks like we have almost a full skid plate setup here from CaliRaised LED. So this is definitely gonna be nice for protection when we're out on the trail. And honestly, these are not that hard to install. So quick recap, we got front skid plate, we got transmission skid plate, transfer case skid plate, gas tank skid plate, rear shock mount skid plates, and lower control arm skid plates. I think that's it. So we're gonna go ahead and get the Taco back on the lift, get it up in the air. We're gonna get those OEM skid plates off, get these installed. I think it's gonna be pretty easy. It's gonna be a super big upgrade and it's gonna look really good as well.
And up again she goes. We're live.
Okay, we're live. First thing we're gonna do is get this TRD skid plate off. I have a trans jack here just to support it so I can take all the bolts out. I don't have to worry about it falling on me, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so with the TRD skid plate off, we now need to remove these braces here. So we have a couple more bolts holding those on. We're gonna go ahead and take those out now. I'm gonna go ahead and get this CaliRaised skid plate up on the trans jack. I just put a moving blanket up there so I don't have to scratch it in the process because we still need to get product photography of this thing. So I'm gonna have Jared help me really quick, just lift this up and get it on here so that I can get it in position. So we're just gonna be taking the OEM hardware that you took out, put that back in here for the front holes. All right, so let's see what's in this box that we got for the front skid plate. I know we have some spacers and stuff in here that we need to put in place, and we also have the cover here for your drain, oil drain access. So this just has 4 button head bolts that comes with it. You can go ahead and just thread those in. The skid plate has riv nuts in it, so you don't have to worry about holding anything on the back side to get it tightened down. So we got the trans jack out of our way. It's being held up by the front bolts. So we have 2 bolts here, 2 spacers, a couple of washers, locking washers. We're gonna go ahead and get the back supported as well. So we got a locking washer. I'm gonna slip that through. Spacer on the inside, and then we can go ahead and support the skid plate and get that bolt started in the bottom. Go ahead and get the other side done. Front skid plate is on, everything's just started, it's not tight yet. Now we're gonna go ahead and get the transmission skid plate in place. We have CaliRaised cat shields on here. Hopefully that doesn't interfere. I don't think it will. But we need to get these bolts out here for these braces that are on either side and get the transmission one tucked in between, and that sits on top here. We can get those bolts in and these bolts in. All right, now I'm gonna take these and the 4 holes here on the skid plate where it makes contact with your front skid plate. We're going to slip these on there. These are going to be essentially our nuts to get this thing threaded in place. So we got that support bracket off here from the cross member to the frame that also holds on the CaliRaised cat shield. So once you get those bolts removed, you can just go ahead and reinstall your security bolts. These brackets we are not going to be putting back on. They will interfere with the skid plate system. So I'm going to go ahead and get the other side taken off as well, and we can move on from there. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and get this thing up in place and get the bolt started for this so that it can hold it in place. Those are kind of a pain to get started, so I grabbed the trans jack to just hold the skid plate up. If you got an extra person, use them. You're probably gonna need it just to make it easy. All right, we got those 4 bolts in the front holding this up so it's not gonna fall. Now we can go ahead, and before we get the bolts in to hold this up to the cross member, we are also putting in the transfer case skid plate, so we need to do that at the same time because those bolts are going through at the same place. So we have to get the brace for the transfer case skid plate. That's gonna be going from one side of the frame over to the other side. So we have to take out this bolt right here that holds on your brake line bracket. So we have to do that. And then on the other side of the frame, there's gonna be 2 plastic caps here covering some threaded holes on the frame. We have to go ahead and take those off. You can just take like a flathead screwdriver and pry those off. So with those off, I thought these were actually threaded, but they're not. So we have to take this bolt off, and then from the inside here, once this is out, you can get inside the frame. We're gonna be putting the bolt through the hole, and then we'll be putting a nut on from the outside of the frame. All right, so now we can take our cross brace here, and we're going to pull out on this brake line. We're going to tuck this underneath. This smaller slot here is going to be for this hook here on the brake line. The bigger slot is going to be for that 12mm bolt that you took out. We're going to go ahead and put that right back in. Yep. We got both bolts tight on either side to hold this up. I'm going to go ahead and put that plastic piece back in the frame, throw that nut back in. Get this trans jack back in here again because it's gonna be hard to hold everything up at once and get everything started. So that's gonna be going like that. Let's go ahead and get this jacked up and tight against. All right. So with that up in place, we're gonna be grabbing these 3 smaller carriage bolts here, 3 washers, and 3 nuts. The smaller carriage bolts are going to be going up through the bottom here and into the crossbar that we just installed. So we'll get that carriage bolt in there, washer, and the nut. Get the other ones installed. I'm gonna go ahead and just tighten these up a little bit, but still leave them loose enough that I can move the skid plate back and forth because it is slotted. So I can move it back and forth to get it positioned just right. Now I have to get these holes all lined up with each other. These 2 line up with the threaded holes in the cross member, and then this one here, there's a bigger hole that goes through the cross member. Get all 3 of those lined up together, and then the larger carriage bolts here are going to be going through this, through the entire cross member, and then we get to put this large washer on the top and our nut. So essentially we have all of the front skid plates up and all the bolts are started, so we have everything lined up. Now I'm just going back through and I'm tightening everything up, and then we could go ahead and get the gas tank one installed. We also have lower control arm ones to install and rear shock ones. All right, we finally got all the bolts tightened for the front section of the skid plates. Now we're gonna go ahead and move to the gas tank. Like I said earlier, this is plastic. Your gas tank is also plastic. So you're not really protecting much with this. So we're gonna go ahead and get this off. Pretty simple. You only have 4 nuts holding this on. We can lift the new CaliRaised one up into place, put those factory nuts back in, and that'll be done. Oh no, the lift foot going down. Moving on to the back shock ones, we're going to be getting these installed like so. Now that one's going to be going this way, this one's going to be going this way. As you can see, we have this piece here threaded through. There's a hole on the ear where the shock mounts. This is going to slip into that hole like so, and then we are going to swing this up in place, putting a new bolt in here for the bottom of the shock. This is just going to prevent, if for some reason you were to snag a rock, it's not going to be able to spin this thing. This will lock it in place so it stays nice and straight there on the axle. So I'm gonna go ahead and support the axle while we go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and take out this lower shock bolt. So let's go ahead and pull out this shock bolt. Now we're gonna take this, put this in that hole, like so, swing that up into place, and then we'll put the new nut and bolt that they supply in. We got the lower shock bolt in. Was kind of a pain to get everything lined up. We ended up taking the bolt back out, putting it in through this side so I can actually hit the bolt. This side should be easier because now we have a technique get everything lined up nicely. I was getting the bolt lined up for the shock, but I couldn't get it to line up perfectly with the skid plate. So it just took a little bit of persuasion. So got the rear shock skid plates on. Lastly, we have the lower control arms, and then we are complete. So the first thing we're going to do is get this little plastic cap here out from your lower control arm. Just be careful. She doesn't want to come out of there. There we go. See ya. So these carriage bolts here, we have 2 different lengths. We're going to take one of the shorter ones. That's going to be going in the hole towards the front of the skid plate. So we're going to place this up here And we're going to slip this through. That's going through the hole where we just popped out that plastic cap. I'm gonna put a washer and a nut on the top. Now we're gonna take the longer carriage bolt that's gonna go through the back hole here. Get another washer and nut installed on that. So this kit works for the 2nd and 3rd gen Tacomas. If you have a 2nd gen, you're gonna be using these spacers and the longer bolts that you would need for those spacers. Since we have a 3rd gen here, we are not using spacers and we are gonna be using the shorter bolts. So we're gonna take one of those short bolts that's gonna go through this front hole here, up and through the control arm. We're gonna put a washer on here, washer on the top, and a nut. Maybe the bigger bolt does go on there. Well, I was tightening these down and I think there was a typo on the instructions from CaliRaised. It says only the 2nd gen is gonna require the aluminum spacer, but I have a gap here that is almost the same thickness as with the spacers that they give you. So I'm pretty sure it's supposed to say only the 3rd gen requires the spacer, because if I was to tighten this down, it would probably just bend this bolt or stretch it out and snap it. So I'm probably gonna put that spacer in there. So we're gonna take that spacer, it's gonna go in between the skid plate and the lower control arm, and then we're gonna put that bolt up through and get it bolted down. There we go. All right, let's redo this side. This nut's a little tricky to get started. Oh. There we go. We need B-roll of it.
Okay guys, day 9 install is complete. We have the full kit of all the CaliRaised skid plates installed on the Tacoma. Wasn't super bad, but Corey did have that trans jack, so you might need an extra person to help you guys out if you don't have that. But everything bolted in pretty well.
Yep, everything lined up pretty good and looks good. So yeah, like he said, if you don't have a trans jack or access to a lift anyway, 2nd person is definitely going to be recommended to just help you hold things up, get the bolt started, because it's not light and it's going to be hard to do by yourself.
Now, like Corey said, these are not light, these are the steel skid plates. CaliRaised also offers all the same skids in aluminum, so you do have that option. Also, like you might have seen during the install, we have the CaliRaised cat shield installed, and these skid plates are completely compatible with those. They don't interfere at all. So if you want to add those with your skid plates, you can do that. All right, we are gonna put the Tacoma back on the ground and get everything ready for day number 10 of our 12 days of mods.
Stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
See you tomorrow, guys.